Well, in this video, I want to talk about two other types of activities that you could do with older students. This would be definitely for probably fourth and fifth grade students to help them develop some really important friendship skills. The first one is a problem solving activity. And in this one, the objective is to teach them how to solve conflicts. So you want to spend some time, obviously, talking about different possibilities for solving conflicts, whether that's collaboration, compromise, sharing, honoring different perspectives, all the different things that go into solving conflicts. And it would certainly be a good idea to have some good examples that perhaps students could just read through before you actually let them loose on giving them a problem and trying to solve it. Because, of course, it's a lot of complicated skills in terms of conflict resolution. But once you have taught that sort of lesson, then you can pair students up. You can give them a problem situation. And I know in a lot of my books, I have problem situation cards, or you can make up some problem situations, or you can just think of, your last day at school and the kind of conflicts that you had to help students just decide how to solve them. And you can give them some examples, something to try and solve, and then give them a certain time frame in which to do that. Generally, you would have the two students who have the conflict, have them identify, which side they're on, what's causing the conflict, and then have a third student who is the mediator, who sits down with those two students and uses some of the other skills that you've probably already taught. For instance, they might ask each student to tell their side of the story. And then, just like we did in a previous activity, maybe they reflect back what they heard. And then they help the two students come up with different options and ways to solve the conflict. So, of course, you would need to teach all these different types of steps to take in conflict resolution, but you could certainly work up to this kind of activity. And it would be something that would be extremely useful for students because who doesn't have a friendship where there is some kind of misunderstanding or conflict as time goes on? So you could even have students uh, get in front of the class. If you had someone who was really doing a great job at mediating a conflict, you could have them present that to the class, or they could each present their solution to the problem. And it's really just a wonderful lesson that could go on and on for several different days in terms of developing conflict resolution skills, and also focusing obviously on the other 5 things that talked about in a previous video that are so important in terms of the skills in making friends: communication, empathy, cooperation, conflict resolution, and respect. The final activity that you could do, which would be a much simpler, is more of a activity that simply encourages cooperation. And so in this one, you would divide students into either pairs or small groups, would be even more challenging because you'd obviously have more people who have to cooperate. And then you give them a task. And I have in my lesson plan books, I have several different activities that are really interesting and very challenging for students of this age. One is building a tower. It's called the out of pasta and putting a marshmallow on top and so on. You can find things like that on the internet, or one where you use solo cups and they have to build a pyramid with it and so on. So there's lots of different activities. You could certainly even give them just a problem that they have to figure out as a group. How would you solve this sort of problem? And then you let them work as a group to come up with a solution to the problem. This, again, takes a lot of upfront, I think, processing to help students understand what is involved in working together in a group. What are the things that could go wrong? How do you handle differences if one person thinks this is the way to do it, somebody else thinks another way to do it? Talking it through before you actually do anything is sometimes helpful, depending on what they're focusing on. So, a cooperative teamwork type of activity is one that can really be beneficial. It's also one where I will say you can get a lot of feelings that are coming out. If you have one person who's very domineering and or someone who is not participating and doing their part, there's lots of different roles that students can play that can create problems in teamwork. And this is a great time to bring it up and talk about it in an activity where the stakes are very low. So I wish you a lot of luck as you help students learn all the important skills that are important, that are so important in terms of making friends early on in the year and handling all those kind of um, conflicts and things that can go on. I'm Lynn Watts with Wyatt the Wonder Dog, and thanks for listening.